Hi, this is Unit 2 of AS Law. I'm Max White. For this series, we will be discussing non-fatal offenses, and for this topic, I will be reviewing causation. Some crimes require the prosecution to prove that the defendant was the cause of the victim's death or injuries. And in doing so, the prosecution has to show that there was a factual cause and a legal cause of the consequence, and also ensuring that there was no intervening acts that can break the chain of causation. Factual causation is decided using the but-for test, but for the defendant's actions, the result would not have occurred, therefore establishing factual causation. In White 1910, the defendant put cyanide in his mum's tea. Despite this action, his mum still died of a heart attack. So, but for the defendant putting cyanide in his mum's tea, she still would have died of a heart attack. Therefore, there's no factual causation there. Another case to use for factual causation is Pagett 1983. This is where the defendant was holding his girlfriend as a hostage while firing at the police. This made them respond by firing back, resulting in her death. But for the defendant firing at the police, his girlfriend would not have died, therefore establishing factual causation. The next step is establishing legal causation, and for that to exist there has to be an operating and substantial cause of the death or injury. Substantial meaning more than minimal, and operational meaning that the defendant's act is not the only main cause of the death. In Smith 1959, Smith and another soldier were fighting. The other soldier was stabbed. Even though there was poor medical treatment in this case, Smith was still the operating and substantial cause of the victim's death because his act was more than minimal, and it was one of the main causes of the victim's death. A novus actus interveniens, a new intervening act, can break the chain of causation. The chain of causation can be broken, as shown in some medical cases like Jordan 1957. After the victim recovered from their original wounds, the doctor prescribed a drug which the victim was allergic to, resulting in their death. This is known as palpably wrong treatment, and it's quite rare. This is further demonstrated in Cheshire 1991, where medical negligence will not break the chain of causation unless it is so independent from the defendant's actions and so potent that it makes the defendant's act seem insignificant. If the defendant causes the victim to act in a foreseeable way, then the chain of causation will not be broken. In Roberts 1971, a girl jumped out of a moving vehicle in order to escape sexual advances. In this case, the defendant was convicted, as he had caused the victim to act in a reasonably foreseeable way. However, if the victim's acts are daft and unexpected, then this will break the chain of causation, as shown in Williams. In Williams 1992, the victim thought he was going to be robbed, and so he jumped out of a moving vehicle onto the motorway. This was considered daft and a new and intervening act that broke the chain of causation. A case that demonstrates the thin skull rule is Blaue 1975. In this case, the victim was a Jehovah's Witness who refused a potentially life-saving blood transfusion after they were stabbed. This did not break the chain of causation, as one of the legal rulings in the thin skull rule is that the defendant has to take the victim as they find them, including their religious beliefs. You may not have enough time in the exams to incorporate all the elements of causation into your answer, but if it fits into the scenario, then consider using the thin skull rule. So in summary, the prosecution must prove that the defendant was the factual and legal cause of the victim's death or injury, and that there was no intervening acts that could have broken the chain of causation. So in the next video, I will be reviewing mens rea, the guilty mind. See ya.